Hello folks, I'm really sorry I can't be at the conference. I've got into an aeroplane and flitted abroad. But Vicky Ireland, who you know well, has insisted that I speak to you through this medium just to make sure that you're not deprived of my words of wisdom. You notice my eyebrow was up when I said that. So welcome to the conference. I'm very, very glad it's happening, and I hope anything that I'm about to say supports you in what you're trying to do. When I was at primary school, I was born in 1946, so I was at primary school in the 50s by and large. Well, this was the time of the 11 plus, so really the 11 plus exam kind of hovered over us and hovered over primary schools. It was like a sort of great sort of shadow of an eagle that sort of sat over schools while everyone cowered underneath it, thinking, how can we get as many children through the 11 plus? So the arts were seen as a sort of like a sort of a little stick-on, a little embarrassing moment where you could just think, oh my goodness, we ought to take them to a concert, and they would sort of rush us off to the local cinema, and Muir Matheson from the BBC Symphony Orchestra played us Ravel's Bolero, and then we all came home again. And that was really how they dealt with it. My oldest children arrived in schools just at the end of the 70s and into the early 80s, and there was still a sense that some or other schools were a place where wonderful creative and artistic things could happen, and this was important. And then whoomph came the kind of cold air of, if you like, the 1890s of the 1980s, and suddenly this was mocked and scorned, and suddenly we had the knowledge model and the skills model and the all these other models and agendas and deliveries and all this sort of stuff came in, and really arts education was seen as peripheral. Now here we are again. We're just coming into, you know, the second part of the noughties of the 21st century, and people are saying, oh, hang on a minute, when people go out into the world, they have to be quite creative, don't they? I wonder if our education system is delivering people who aren't very creative. Oh dear, how did this happen? Or you did it, guys. So maybe we better bring in some of this artsy stuff. So the pendulum is swinging. Really we've got to jump on it and make sure that it serves the purpose of arts rather than arts serving the purpose of maybe some other thing. So yes, I think in a way it's been an interesting cycle that's gone on in my own lifetime. I think the most negative impact on children's arts is really a view of education, pedagogy and childhood itself is that what you have to do is take the child as a blank sheet or as just a piece of material, and what you do is you just apply stuff to it. It's basically the old jug and mug model, as it was called. That's to say, you treat the child as the empty mug, you have a jug full of water here, and you pour knowledge into the empty mug. You know, this is the kind of model. Well, I just don't accept the model at all. I have a completely different model, which is that every human being from the moment they're born is a reflecting and reflexive being. That's to say, you hear things, you see things, you feel things, you reflect upon it, and then you can produce things. That is a completely different model. So if you're setting up education and thinking, what are we doing? At the heart of education should be discovery, investigation, and creativity. Those are the three things that you must have at the heart of education. The instructional model will only work for very short periods of time and only occasionally. For knowledge and understanding and feeling and sympathy and compassion, for all these things to happen, you have to have a notion that the child is acting upon the things that he or she is, if you like, receiving. It's a two-way process, which means that schools have to say, who are these children? What do they want? What do they need? What kind of children do we have? The arts is a fantastic instrument, vehicle, whatever you want to say, through which we understand who we are, how we coexist, how we live together, and how we can change things. And this is crucial. And it isn't integrated into people's lives. You know, we'll say, well, tomorrow we're going to do poetry, and then they do poetry for a day, and then it's forgotten about for 2 years. I think we really need a manifesto for the simple reason that we've reached a point where people don't know the argument for the arts, and they don't know about the necessity for it, and if they know that, they sometimes don't know where to go with the feelings that they have. I think the great advantage of a manifesto is it gives us a focal point, it gives us key points that people can talk about, and then we can start addressing the powers that be with that. People can identify with it, sign up to it, so we've got a little bit of power, a little bit of momentum going, and a sense that there is a unity about it. I mean, the great problem about the arts is we're all supposed to be very kind of individualistic and slightly eccentric and working around our corners and not very good at cooperating in the way that maybe, the miners were or the postal workers or something. Well, in actual fact, arts workers, we are beginning to see that we do all have mutual interests, collective interests, and a great thing about a manifesto is it helps us see that. It helps us get together and say, yes, look, here am I working away in Devon with a theatre, and here am I do pottery workshops in school, and here am I in Scotland and I'm doing poetry workshops, whatever it is, and that we are actually all cultural workers, creative workers, however you want to put it, and there is a real need for this stuff, and we can sign up to a manifesto and put pressure on the powers that be. So yes, I'm a real advocate of this manifesto and urge everyone to join in. Yes, I'll say that to the camera. Everybody, join in.
So we're not finished today.
Oh yeah, it's not here.
I got involved with Action for Children's Arts because in a way, arts in education and arts for children has been in my blood since I was born. My parents were both teachers and passionately involved in all kinds of arts education. I mean, when I go to my dad's house, my dad is 89, and my mum died many years ago, and when I'm sitting there having a wee, there on the floor of the toilet is a wonderful pottery rhinoceros. And this is a wonderful treasured possession. My mum made that when she did an extra teacher training course, long after she was an experienced teacher, and she made that rhinoceros based on Dürer's painting, Dürer's drawing really, of the rhinoceros. And when I look at that, and I'm over at my dad's house, I think the passion and the thought and the care that she put into making that rhinoceros as a teacher who was, as she would put it, no good at pottery, and the fact that she cared about making it, and the fact that she then had the confidence to teach pottery to the kids in her class. She wasn't a potter, she wasn't a ceramicist, she wasn't, she didn't even draw, and yet that bridge to make and then to teach, that is fundamental to arts education and working with children. And to a great extent, and does this worry me, we have lost that, right? Teachers are not being trained to make and do, so they don't have the confidence to go into classes and say, let's make and do. And whether that's drama, whether that's dance, whether that's painting, whether that's music. Instead, education and working with children has got compartmentalised. I'm over here, I'm doing sciencey things. I'm over here and I'm doing PE things. And I'm over here, here's the art specialist. Well, this is just so wrong. I mean, it's so wrong at any age and in any time in life, but even more so with young children. It is absolutely vital that we see that one way to investigate and think about the world is through arts. The arts is a way of looking at the world and reflecting on it, not immediately tying things down and saying, this is the way it is, because this, therefore this, which is, if you like, the scientific method. It's to speculate, to have creative thoughts, to suggest, and then it's about making and doing, looking at what somebody else has made and done, and reflecting on that, working in teams, working on your own, going back to the rest of the people. There's a tremendous cooperative aspect in it. Arts education is fundamental, and we've let this slide and drop and become less relevant. There was a whole period when it was mocked. We saw Tory politicians standing up in conferences saying, creativity, ha ha ha, and mocking it. What's wrong with being creative? This is what they were mocking, as if somehow what we need is more instruction. Children are instructed from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. We need much more creativity, for the benefit of people as individuals, for the benefit of communities, for the benefit of society. Creativity is just desperate. That is what we need as a human race to survive.
The Prime Minister needs to make more drawings in school happen to make school more fun.
They need to be creative, adults and kids, because it probably make the world more colourful. Art is fun.
Art is fun,
Creative.
and it needs to be more in schools.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's it from me. All the best. Hope to see you somewhere out there in the real world.